Touch 1. After hearing a tale originally told by Shiva Parvati, Gundya wrote the tale down on many manuscripts in his own blood and burned all but one, which became the Vritakatha. Along with Yogeshwari, the gods created this number of Matrika Stipi Andaka, a demon who generated copies of himself from his blood. Arundhati was the only member of a group of this many women not to become the Artaveda, called the Cutters, or the Kritaka. Knowing that Agni desired a group of this many wives, Svaha moved him by disguising herself as several of those women. According to the Rig Veda, Indra destroyed Vritra's 99 fortresses to free this number of rivers corresponding to Saraswati and her sisters. A group of this many wise men in Hinduism includes Jamadagni, Kashyapa, and Vashita.
7.
10 minutes. These people mainly prospered by buying and trading wares, and Jafar al-Ishtari notes that only native product they exported was isinglass. For 10 points each, name these people who won the Battle of Ardaval under Barjik and Dariel Pass. One of their kings had a correspondence with Hazi ibn Shaprut, the fourth secretary to the Caliph of Cordoba. Answer those. It's the Khazars.
Okay.
Kiev and Rus conquered the Khazars by taking this stronghold. This location was filled with resources from Emperor Theophilus in exchange for giving up lands in the Chrysonians, and it was named in honor of its white limestone bricks. Answer, please. This is Sarkel or Sharkil. Under the Kagan Bulan, who was believed to be descended from Obadiah, the Khazars converted to this religion. A different war against zealots of this religion involved the siege of Masada.
Judaism?
Yeah. 10 of those. Puzzle. The RSCS hybrid sensor kinase alters the host range of one bacterium in this genus by including release of the CYP exopolysaccharide. Rosenberg and Zilber-Rosenberg revived the hologenome concept of observing patterns of resistance to the Shieldry species of this genus, which includes which causes coral bleaching. The shortest known doubling time of any organism is the nitrogens member of this genus. A member of this genus produces a protein complex with 5 B subunits, which form a ring that binds GM1 gangliosides on target cells. ADP ribosylation factors were discovered while researching the action of a toxin produced by a member of this genus. An organism moved out of this genus in 2007 uses quorum sensing to control the lux operon. A member of this genus causes a disease whose symptoms include rice water stool and can be transmitted through untreated sewage. For example, name this gram-negative bacterial genus whose common-shaped members include the causative agent of cholera.
Escherichia?
Nope.
C. elegans?
Vibrio. So that goes dead. Next toss-up. Early in his rule, this ruler replaced his entire government in 24 hours with a group of temporary advisors known as the Marionette Cabinet, after which he staged a series of so-called spontaneous demonstrations, complete with fireworks, shows released into his subjects. This ruler was attacked by Petkar Walter, a member of the radical Bashkimi Club, which resulted in the killing of this man's political opponent, Avi Rostemi. After this man broke off an engagement, he feared that he would be poisoned and appointed his mother, Sadivya, to oversee food in the royal kitchen. This man re-entered the theater carrying a pistol after an attempt on his life was made at a VM performance of E. Pagliacci. This ruler's Christmas Eve coup ended the democratizing efforts of Fonduli. This king was forced to flee his country with his son, Crown Prince Lecca, after this man was deposed by Enrico Mussolini. For his former prime minister, president, and king of Albania.
Czar.
10 points. This science has proved that communities whose interaction matrices are generated at random are less likely to be stable as the number of species increases, a fact led by many ecologists to believe that biodiversity has a destabilizing effects. For 10 points each, name this mathematical ecologist who wrote Stability and Complexity in Model Ecosystems and worked with Roy Anderson to build a series of influential models of infectious disease. Answer? No. Robert May. May discovered that even simple discrete models of single species population dynamics like the logistic map can display this mathematical phenomenon, whose characteristics include high sensitivity to initial conditions. Answer.
Unspecified.
Chaos. May and W.D. Hamilton developed a model of this behavior that counterintuitively predicts that it will still occur even if it results in death. This behavior is often modeled with a kernel that describes probability of a function of distance and is the only factor connecting patches in a metal population. Answer. This is dispersal or just migration. Nothing else. Toss-up. The leader of a long-term experiment on these non-rodent mammals replaced Nikolai Dubinin as the head of an institute after Nikita Khrushchev's support for Lysenkoism led him to sack Dubinin. A set of behavioral assays performed on these animals as part of that experiment grouped them into class 1, 2, or 3 based on whether they would accept food from an experimenter's hand, as described in a book co-authored by Lee Dugatin. At the Institute of...
Foxes?
Yeah.
Nice.
Good buzz. This author took W.H. Auden to take for use in capitalized personified abstraction in a series of critical lectures that prompted Auden to note that this man must be in love with you. For 10 points each. Named this author who collected his criticism and poetry in the age and was inspired by his time teaching at Sarah Lawrence College to pen a satirical novel, Pictures from an Institution.
Is by
Answer.
Jared.
Gerald. Randall Gerald's prose works include popular works in this genre titled The Bat Poet and Animal Kingdom, both of which were illustrated by an author known for his works in this genre. Maurice said,
Okay, what is this poem again? What is the famous poem again?
It's Death of the Baltimore.
Right.
But yeah, it's children's books.
Yeah. This essay by another author cites Gerald's essays on Walt Whitman as a rare example of the type of criticism which supplies a really accurate, sharp, loving description of the appearance of a work of art that this essay advocates. Answer.
Pass.
Against interpretation.
Oh,
Okay.
salt
Yeah. A poem in this collection describes something that the title man wants to keep in place, where everything is silence and the beating of a bloody hand upon a splintered table. The last section of this collection is a long address to the Pharaoh boy, Victor of Irion, titled Meditations for a Savage Child. This book's title poem claims that the words are purposes and that the words are maps, and notes, we are, I am, you are by cowardice or courage, the one who find our way back to this scene. This collection, which split between the National Book Award for Poetry with Allen Ginsberg's All America, includes the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven and Less Understood as a central message. The speaker of this collection titled poem carries a book of myths in which our names do not appear and has to perform the title action not like Cousteau with his assiduous team, but with an awkward mask and absurd flippers. For 10 points, it is Adrian Rich collection titled for an action of underwater exploration.
Diving.
Nope.
Pearl diving.
No, it's diving into the wreck.
Oh, sorry.
So we will go to top of 6. The right panel of this work copies the coffered ceiling of the Basilica of Maxentius to depict the Temple of Jerusalem, where Joseph is kneeling with a pair of doves before the priest Simeon. In another section of this work, a peacock and 2 birds are pecking at food while Zechariah greets a pregnant Mary. In its center panel, a sponge lies on top of an inscription written in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek. That inscription itself leans against a copper basin of a semi-congealed blood containing 3 nails. In this work, an old man bracing himself against a wooden beam holds a white shroud with his teeth while supporting a mostly bare body in a pose revered from Lau Kun's in the sculpture group. In this triptych, located in the Antwerp Cathedral, St. John has one foot on a ladder while helping Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus steady collapsing body. Further points, it is triptych by Peter Paul Rubens, whose central panel depicts the removal of the crucified body of Jesus.
The deposition.
No. Time. It's set from the cross.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
All right, toss of 7. Stephen Ollie and Ariel Pace developed a technique that accounts for stimulatity and selection bias when estimating parameters of these entities. Franklin Fisher criticized the stringent assumptions necessary for the microversions of these mathematical entities to aggregate a micro one. The translog example of these objects is commonly used in estimation because it is linear in parameters and is an approximation of the CDS type. A 2014 paper by Lukas Barbunas and Brett Neiman estimates that one of the parameters is to be about 1.25 and uses that fact to link following investment prices and the declining labor. The INADA conditions impose restrictions on the partial derivatives of these entities.
So these are production functions?
Yep, 10 points. Oh, an artwork showing a man wielding a rope made of this substance was inspired by the Elvis Presley film Loving You and Andy Warhol's image Elvis for 10 points each. Name the substance that forms the lasso wielded by the naked man in Takashi Murakami's My Little Son Cowboy.
Yeah.
Water.
It's semen. Murakami founded an art movement named for the super form of this quality. Pop art was concerned with reproducing this quality of extreme two-dimensionality as found in comics and other mass media.
Flat.
Yes. This art critic's 1955 essay, American Type Painting, argued that the abstract expressionists brought the idea of flatness at the center of American art. That essay was an early writing among many in which this author promoted the work of Jackson Pollock.
It's Greenberg?
Yes, 20 on the bonus. Toss-up. A speech title for the greatness of this era claims that it is characterized by oligarchs leading the popular movement where the social system compact is closely knitted, less splendid on the surface, but stronger at the core. The journalist W.J. Cash wrote an essay to debunk the notion that this period was a discontinuous break from the past. A man dubbed the apostle of this period was the newspaper editor of the Constitution, Henry W. Grady. In a work titled for this period's promise, Ed Ayers emphasized the important role of businessmen like Thomas A. Scott. A book about this period places it at the end of the date, and at the date of Woodrow Wilson's inauguration. That book by C. Van Woodward is on the origins of this era. Its starting date is given as 1877, when federal troops were removed and racial. Were removed and race relations became flexible. For 10 points, give this two-word historiographical phrase that attempts to describe a more modern region of the post-bellum, post-Reconstruction U.S. Answer.
Never good feelings.
No, it's the New South.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alright, this author included an unconventional list of props, including small effects, incense, dirt, filth, smells, bodies, at the beginning of a play subtitled A Historical Pageant. In a play by this author, a woman says, "You look like you've been reading Chinese poetry and just drinking lukewarm, sugarless tea. You look like Death King, the soda cracker," prompting the protagonist to wonder if she knows Warren Enright. A play by this author ends with the Revolutionary Walker vessels being injured by an explosion that is implied to have killed two freakish mulatto daughters he had with his ex-wife Grace. A character who enters the stage eating an apple enrages the protagonist by calling him Uncle Thomas Woollyhead before stabbing him in a play by this author about Lulu and Clay's conversation on a New York City subway car. For 10 points, it is African-American author of the plays The Slave Ship, The Slave, and Dutchman.
James Baldwin.
No.
Wilson.
No, it's Amari Brock. No. Toss up 10. Then we'll score 10. These compounds are formed from the hydrolysis of a type of ester that typically contains pinacol. The MINA ligand is used as a protecting group for these compounds by rehybridizing their centers from an sp2 to sp3. One of these compounds reacts with an amine and an aldehyde to form a managed-like reaction for potassium. One of these functional groups replaces a leucine's carboxyl group in the structure of a proteasome inhibitor, or tezomer. Dehydrating these compounds causes them to trimerize in a compound containing a planar six-membered ring. In an undesirable side reaction, this functionality is proteinated and cleaved, yielding its alkyl or aryl group, which occurs in coupling reactions such as the Chan-Lamb or Suzuki reaction. These compounds are typically prepared by reacting Grignard reagent with a borate ester. For 10 points, in these organoborane compounds containing a boron bonded to an alkyl or aryl group and two hydroxyl groups.
Wines.
Okay, no.
Okay.
No. Fine. It's boranic acids.
Okay. I mean, I was just kind of all of this.
Yes.
Yes.
That was.
The score I have at halftime is 70 for New College, Florida, 5 for Central Florida.
All right. Without further ado, we'll go with toss up 11. Part of this line of poetry supplies the title of a memoir that depicts life in Chernovitz after World War I via literary portraits of Gregor von Razor's family members. Part of this line is flashed on the screen after Tom says that I think the rest of the play will explain itself in the opening monologue of the Glass Menagerie. After lamenting the decline of faith in the spirit world, Madame Arcadi recites this line in its original French in Noel Coward's play Spirit. This line closes a stanza describing the death of Jean Doridan, who was sewn into a sack and cast into the Seine. This line is repeated in a poem that opens, "Tell me now in what hidden way is, Lady Flora, the lovely Roman." Dante Gabriel Rossetti, coined a new word to translate the final word of this line, "Autant." This is the refrain of a poem from Le Testament that asks where Queen Blanche had lived and Joan of Arc had gone. For 10 points, give this refrain of Francois Villon's The Ballad of Dead Ladies, which laments the passage of time. Time is, but where are the snows of yesteryear? Toss up. One work by this man analogizes the heart to a mirror that can reflect the light of God only when polished by discipline in the soul. This man wrote that when cotton is lit on fire, it is God and not the fire that burns the cotton. This man, who compiled some of his works during a long stay atop the Golden Gate in Jerusalem, began his search for yakin, or complete certainty, to cure his skepticism of sense data. He included the marvels of the heart in the third section of a work comprising 4 sections of 10 books each. He argued that jurisprudence should aim to protect the 5 necessities. Sunnis reserved the title Hujjat al-Islam, or Proof of Islam for this theologian, who explained his turn towards Sufism in his spiritual autobiography, Deliverance from Error. He lists 20 heretical propositions and defended al-Ash'ari's occasionalism in an attack on the falsafa of Avicenna. Furthermore, name is Islamic mystic who wrote the Revival of the Religious Sciences and the Incoherence of Philosophers.
Ghazali.
Yes, 10 points. In the UK, the Shine's 40 factors are phenomenal similar to this one, for 10 points each. Name is found in political polling caused by respondents giving what they believe to be socially desirable response than the actual one. Its name comes from California's 1982 gubernatorial election in which the African American candidate was ahead of the polls but lost anyway.
Something.
Answer. Bradley effect. The American National Election Studies are administered by this university in Stanford. Researchers from this university wrote the 1960 book, The American Voter, based on their data collection since 1948.
No, and Stanford. Wisconsin.
Michigan. The American Voter concluded that this variable was the basis for most voters' choices. The Michigan model holds that this variable rarely changes except in realignment elections, and predicts that people who have a strong form of it will engage in straight ticket voting.
Party.
Political parties.
Affiliation.
Yeah, that's fine. 10 points. Toss up 13. The founder of this kingdom was said to have risen from a lake during a dispute over a forest that nearly led to bloodshed, which that founder then mediated. After that event, this kingdom's founder was tricked into reappearing, was kidnapped, and offered a beautiful wife, and asked to stay as king. That man spoke the language Pular and was foreign to the people of this kingdom. Women were able to rule states in this kingdom through the office of the burr and could influence politics as leader or queen mother. The Denkanye and Kabu kingdoms rose when this empire broke apart after the Battle of Dunki. This empire, founded by Injaya in AD 1350, collected tribute from its vassal such as the Wolo and Sine, despite tribute being forbidden by Sarrare tradition. Its territory was later absorbed by the Imamate of Kuta Jamon. For time, name this empire the names of a major ethnicity and language in the Gambia and Senegal.
Joba.
Yes, 10 points. This object, found by Flinders Petrie and translated by William Spiegelberg, contains a short passage mentioning that Israel is led to waste, but it seems not. For 10 points each, identify this monument named for a successor to Ramses the Great, which describes that Pharaoh's repulsion of a Libyan raid in his 5th year and suppression of Canaanite revolts.
So it's like the Great Steel.
The Great Steel.
I probably
I have nothing.
the Mertepas stele, or stele Mertepa. A statue based with the name of Ramses IV from this place is the last Egyptian reference to Canaan. This state of Thutmose III's victory over the king of Kadesh circa 1482 BC was known as the Greeks as Armageddon. Answer.
Armageddon.
No, it's Megiddo. The grandfather of Flinders Petrie, Matthew Flinders, was the first man to circumnavigate Australia, which he did in the company of this Aboriginal man, a chief of the Broken Bay tribe. This man is the first ever recorded Australian person.
Steve Irwin.
Bungaree. Alright, toss 14. The time required for this process to go from the most remote point in the area of interest to the outlet is called the time of concentration. The peak rate of this process is estimated by the so-called rational method that sets two equal empirical coefficient times the discharge area times the precipitation intensity. In a model by Robert E. Horton, the exponential decay of a different process over time during a storm causes this process to increase. The infiltration axis mechanism of this process occurs due to limitation on the infiltration rate, whereas the saturation axis mechanism occurs due to soil saturation. High rainfall and impervious surfaces in urban areas increase the rate of this hydrological.
Flooding.
No, that's fine. Hydrological process, which is the dominant cause of soil erosion. For 10 points, name this flow of excess water on the surface of a landscape.
Runoff.
Yes, 10 points. This poet lamented the little faith and much forgetting of him who I return, I weary and believe, and by now I am so tired of waiting. For 10 points each, name this Italian Renaissance poet, many of whose 311 poems were inspired by her broken relationship by Count Colatino de Colato.
I know all of the names, but I don't know anything about any of them.
Answer.
Emma.
It's Gasparo Stampa.
Yep.
Samba lived most of her life in this Italian city. This city was the birthplace of Giacomo Casanova, whose history, the Mabi, describes his imprisonment in its Doge's palace.
Venice.
That's right. Another woman poet of Renaissance, Vittoria Colonna, exchanged songs with this author of many poems about his love for Tommaso Cavalieri. Another sonnet by this artist notes not even the best of artists has any conception that a single marble block does not contain.
Oh, my life.
Yes.
It's a really good poem, actually. That one, I like it. Yes, Luna and my
Topic
would
15. A concerto in C major for this instrument is the most popular instrumental piece by François Audrien Boisdillot. In Brahms' A German Requiem, this instrument first enters the word trainen, or tears, and later plays the closing melodies of both the first and last movements. The composer of La Source, Alphonse Assouline, taught this instrument at the Paris Conservatoire. The modern version of this non-piano instrument was pioneered by Sébastien Erard. Two of these instruments play the opening theme of Vache Herod from Ma Blas. Debussy wrote a sonata for flute, viola, and this instrument, and after the flute's opening phrase in the prelude to an afternoon of fawn, this instrument plays a glissando. It is usually art. Yes.
Yeah, good.
A group at this university published pamphlets like Swarm Machines, which approvingly describes jungle music as the abstract diagram of planetary and human becoming, for 10 points each. This university, where the student-run collective CCRU operated in the 1990s. Members of CCRU, including Sadie Plant and Nick Land, popularized ideas like accelerationism and speculative realism while working here.
Don't care.
Answer.
Columbia.
It's Norway, University of Warwick. A book by CCRU co-founder Mark Fisher, also known as Capon, asks whether there is no alternative to a form of realism, dominated by this economic system characterized by private ownership and means of production.
Capitalism.
That's it. Mark Fisher's book, Ghosts of My Life, appropriated the term hauntology to describe a nostalgia for lost futures from this Jacques Derrida book, which describes the 10 plagues of global capitalism and the emergence of a new international. Answer. It's Spectres of Mars.
Oh, so good.
Toss 16. A figure from this country posited a thesis of pansomatism, which is a thing, A is a thing, is equivalent to A is an extended and resistant object, as part of its idea that only things exist, called reism. A radical nominalist from this country developed a hierarchy of proto-thetic, ontological, and mereological systems of logic. Figures from this country replaced traditional signs for logical operations with the letters N, K, A, C, and E. A logician from this country attempted to solve the problem of future contingents by introducing an undetermined truth value, resulting in the first modern many-valued logic. After proving an undefiability theorem, a logician from this country defined the material adequacy condition, under which a statement P is true in the object language, if and only if P is true in the mental language. That is his semantic theory of truth. For 10 points, what country's Lviv school produced the logicians Alfred Tarski, John Lukasiewicz, Tadeusz Kotarski?
Russia.
Nice one. Tadeusz Kotarski and Stanislaw Leszczewski.
Sounds pretty Polish.
That's
Is it?
Groups with unshared electron pairs tend to be strongly activating and ortho-pair directing for this relation. For 10 points each. Name this reaction, a subset of which are Friedel-Crafts reactions. In this reaction, an atom on the aromatic ring, typically a hydrogen, is replaced by an electron deficient species.
Dehydration.
Dehydration.
No, it's an EAS, or electrophilic aromatic substitution. In this type of EAS, a non-hydrogen substituent is replaced by the electrophile. Trimethylsilyl and tert-butyl are considered directing for this sort of reaction due to their stable carbocation formation.
No.
Ipso substitution. An intramolecular ipso substitution occurs in the Hayashi rearrangement, whose intermediate is considered one of these compounds in which multiple rings are linked at a single atom. Answer.
Superpower.
Spiro compound. The narrator asks this character, do the people in your country love you? Instead of relying on an T, in a scene of Javier Maria's A Heart So White that translates a conversation between a Spanish man and this person. An effigy of this figure is often picked for the burning of the club hot wax in the Satanic Verses, in which Chamcha nicknames this person torture. In a short story, a character initially mistaken for the son of the boilerman Duggan enters the narrator's house to wait for this character to leave an eye surgery, then says fucking rejoice after killing her. Nick Guess.
Is it Margaret Thatcher?
10 points.
I was stuck in the Satanic Verses.
The curtain raiser for this opera was the play Crypto Concoid Stefano Stamato, whose hit song What an Afternoon includes such dopey lyrics as he also moved his life when he walked. For 10 points each. It is an 1875 one-act opera about a case of concerning breach of promise of marriage. The judge in this opera sings a patter song about how he attained his mission by falling for a rich attorney's elderly, ugly daughter.
It's better be the 30.
No, that's not that.
Answer. It's Trial by Jury. Trial by Jury is the earliest surviving opera by this composer and librettist duo, whose later works include The Young Man of the Guard and Mikado.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Crypto, Concoid, Symphonos, Stomata, and The Trial by Jury were on triple bill with Le Pericole, an opera buffet by this composer. Josephine Baker starred in a later hit performance of this man's opera, La Creole.
Not that one.
It's Jacques Offenbach, so we get 10 on the bonus. For Nick College. Awesome. After a battle fought in this country, the winner placed 5 bright blue shields on his buckler to depict the 5 kings he defeated, according to the account of his advisor, St. Theotonius. Another battle that took place in this country allegedly involved a 6-fingered Vega woman who killed 8 enemies with a shovel while hiding in her shop. After a wing in the sky signaled victory in battle, the order of Michael of the Wing was founded in this country by a king whose son was given the nickname the Populator for leading settlers to northern stretches of this country. A vanguard of bachelor soldiers called the Lover's Flank joined a group called the Honeysuckle Flank in a key medieval clash in this country, the Battle of Aljubarrota. That battle led to the rise of a dynasty whose founder was succeeded by Edward the Philosopher. For 10 points, in this country whose of these dynasty included Good.
So
10 points.
No way.
The definitive translation of this word into Latin yielded 2 results: supersubstantialism and quotidienism for its 2-word appearances. For 10 points.
Enthusiast.
Yes. In the Lord's Prayer, the phrase effusios artos is usually translated as a daily form of this substance, which guides, yes. Catholic doctrine splits the Lord's Prayer into 7 of these divisions. Yeah, 30 on the bonus.
Good job.
It's meant by the lack of lack.
Top 19. In a work shown in a 1982 Documenta 7 exhibition, this artist juxtaposed a mural-sized photograph with an anti-war demonstration with the portrait of Ronald Reagan placed behind a velvet robe. That work by this artist is Olga Malde, homage à Marcel Brutier. Hilton and Kramer accused this artist of undermining the very idea of art as a realm of aesthetic discourse in a review of his U.S. isolation box, Granada, 1983. For another work, this artist used a mock cornice to frame the 3 banners, one advertising a Nigerian art exhibition sponsored by an oil company, the other 2 quoting the company's refusal to boycott South Africa's government. This artist, behind Metro Mobilatan, exposed the network of corporations used by the Shapolsky family to control low-income housing in a work rejected by the Guggenheim. He used transparent ballot boxes to fold in MoMA's visitors about Nelson Rockefeller's stance in the Vietnam War. For 10 points, this German artist, a lead component of the institutional critique.
Miranda Abramovich.
No.
Good.
No, it's Hans Hake. Toss of the left. By detecting the decay of these particles, the Fermi Large Area Telescope provided direct evidence of cosmic ray proton acceleration in supernova remnants. These particles appear at the left and right ends of the S equals 0 line on the pseudoscalar no-net diagram. The fact that these particles would be produced by way of delta baryons in interaction between the CMBR and cosmic rays led to the formation of the GZK layer. While the neutral variety of these particles usually decays into 2 photons, it can decay into a photon and electron-positron pair in Dulitz decay. The charged versions of these particles usually decay into a muon and muon neutrino. These particles were wrongly predicted by Yukawa to be the carriers of the strong force and were first identified by their double meson tracks. For 10 points, name these first-generation mesons whose charged versions contain up and anti-down or down and anti-up quarks.
So, ions?
Correct. This man was derided as the metaphysician of the Palme intellectual and the prophet of the Krakow agnostic in his essay describing his vote. For 10 points each, name this best-selling intellectual author in the late 19th century America, where his work was championed and published by Edward Newman, the founder of Popular Science magazine. It's Herbert Spencer.
Oh.
The Vogue of Spencer is the second chapter of a book on this theory in American thought. Spencer was a leading proponent of what later became known as this theory, which applied evolutionary principles to argue social survival of the fittest dominates societal and economic considerations.
Social Darwinism?
Yes. Social Darwinism in American Thought was a book by this historian who wrote the 1963 book Anti-Intellectualism in American Life. Answer. Richard Hofstadter. That is
Final score I have is really close, 120 for New College and 115%.
I want to mark a protest on bonus 13. The second part, the answer was Megiddo, and I said hard Megiddo, And I'd like to protest that in case Armageddon would be acceptable.
Armageddon.
Armageddon
Okay, so,
versus just Armageddon.
okay, then it's in there.
Easy
So,
protest.
yeah, I just